Before walking, our ancestors listened to the wind between the branches. Africa at that time was not one Africa. In some places, the water still ran between thick trees and fresh shadow. In others, the grass stretched far, moved by a dry wind. The morning light fell oblique on the red soil. The air knew of dust, crushed leaves, and ripe fruits. For small groups of ominines, every day was a test. They knew how to climb. They knew how to hide, but the world around them was changing shape. And when the forest opened, their life had to open up with her. No one could yet imagine that change would start from the feet. By day, the trees offered security. Arms found secure hooks on rough logs. The puppies were held tight to the body of the mothers. The bark scratched the skin. The leaves trembled above the heads as a continuous breath. Up there were fruits, nests, and shadows. Below, there were thorns, heat, and hungry eyes. Staying on the trees was comfortable, but it wasn't always enough. On the ground fell seeds, bones, tubers, insects. On the ground there were also opportunities. And every time one of them went down, even for little, something in the body learned a new prudence. The first step was not a march. It was an uncertain gesture. One foot lay on the ground with caution. The other followed. The body barely lifted. The back sought a new balance. The basin had to bear a different weight. The folded knees absorbed the irregular terrain. Walking on two legs, left hands, more free. Free to collect. Free to brain. Free to keep a baby safe. It wasn't a perfect advantage yet, but it was a possibility. And the possibilities in the long history of life change everything. A body doesn't change as a whim. Changes because the world pushes it. In their hips, feet, column, the slow step left traces. The foot became more suitable to support weight from above. The bow of the foot helped push forward. The heel touched the ground decisively. The hands were no longer occupied to hold every movement. They could brain. They could explore. They could defend. And while the body was adapting, the fatigue was loud. Walking was not easy. It was expensive. But every cost opened a new road in the dust. The open land seemed immense. It was actually full of signals. A broken branch, a smell in the air, the grass that lowered to the passage of something great. The predators were not invisible for long. No prey. Every shadow could hide and escape. Each rock could offer a sudden shelter. Walking erect helped to see further above the tall grass. Just a little. A change of light, a short cry, and the group was tightened, careful, with a firm breath in the throat. Free hands changed the day more than fire or weapons. A small one could be brought longer. A fruit could be narrow without falling. A rock could be collected at the right time. A wood could become a stick. A simple gesture acquired value. Under the sun, everything useful was remembered. The selection did not reward the elegant gesture, rewarded the gesture that survived. And so, without clamor, the body and the mind learned together. When the group stopped, someone watched. Someone was keeping the ground. Someone tried another step. That's the story, with free hands and increasingly attentive look. None of them had a kitchen, yet every day they decided what to put in their mouths. Sweet fruits when they were ripe, hard seeds, roots found digging in the earth, small insects, fast, almost invisible, maybe some bone left by other animals. Africa was generous and ruthless together. Food changed with rain, changed with dry season. It changed with the movement of the herds and with the fall of the fruits. To survive, you had to remember the places. It was necessary to learn the times. And by force of searching, our ancestors became more curious in the world. The sky was never the same, rains more irregular, harder seasons, wet areas that retreated, trees that moved away from each other. The land was breathing differently. Where there was continuity before, fragments arrived. A forest here, a clearing there, an open stretch beyond the hill. Groups had to follow or lose. The paths became longer, the most precious water, and the more the landscape opened, the more bipedism became useful. Not better, but more and more necessary. Being straight didn't just change the legs, changed the view. From above the grass, the world read better. They saw far-off movements, intuited groups coming. A fruit-filled tree was distinguished by a waste and useless. In an open landscape, knowing first made a difference. A second advantage could save a life. The group learned to stop, to scrutiny, to move when the ground allowed it. The posture became language, and the body told the world that it was no longer the same as before. The night fell fast. Cold came into the bones. Sounds changed. A far smooth, a broken line, a branch that yielded in the dark. Sleep meant trusting the group. It meant choosing a tree, a rock, a recess. It meant getting close. The little ones were vulnerable. The elderly brought memory. Adults carried weight and defense. Every survival was collective. And just for that, every step out of the safe had a price. Today, scientists read the past in the bones. In a femur bone, in a joint of the basin, in a foot that is no longer like a modern monkey. Not everything is clear. Fossils are rare. Turn off, spread in layers of ancient land. Yet when they emerge, they tell a slow shift. Not a sudden jump. Not a perfect revolution, but a series of compromises between climbing and walking, between living on the trees and living increasingly on the ground. The historical truth here has the short and patient breath of ancient things. Long after those first steps, a small skeleton emerged from the earth would change our image of that past. Lucy lived millions of years ago, was not a symbol. He was an individual, maybe a young adult, perhaps minuta, agile, accustomed to moving between branches and open ground. His body showed a creature already far from ancient primates, but not yet close to us, as we like to imagine. He had legs suitable for the erect path. He still had traits related to life on the trees. It was a living threshold. And in front of her, in Africa, that threshold was widening. His fellows left increasingly clear traces of a new habit. Standing was no longer just a parenthesis, was becoming a way to stay in the world. Before the controlled fire, there was darkness. The real darkness. The group knew the heat of the sun and the frost of the night. He knew the sudden storms. He knew the lightning that struck dry and made everyone escape. Maybe someone looked at the natural flames and feared the bite. Maybe someone understood that the heat had a new power. But the fire domain would have arrived much later. For now, life remained entrusted to bare hands, attentive eyes, and tireless bodies. The night was still scary, and precisely this fear kept the groups close to the ground, sheltered, to the present. Every human conquest has had a long wait. This was one of those expectations. The soil keeps more than it looks. A gnawed bone, a rock dragged, a trace of steps in the dried mud, a fruit crushed under the heel, a pile of seeds under a rock. The findings do not speak with a single voice. You have to put them together, watch them silently, compare, dubitare. Go back, then a possible picture emerges. Core capable of standing on 2 feet, landscapes that dry and fragmentate, popularities that fit instead of disappearing. Nobody saw the change altogether. A generation was born and found the world a little different. Another learned to move better between radius and radiant trees. Another found it more useful to stay on the ground longer. The bodies became more suitable for the way. The most precious hands, the most careful choices. Life didn't improve straight. Every advantage had its hard side. Each erect step required energy. Each outing exposed at risk. Yet, in the invisible balance of survival, the new balance worked enough to be transmitted. This is the secret of evolution, not perfection. The tenacity. The great transformations of Africa did not come as a single storm. They were many pushes together. The rise of highlands and fractures of the earth's crust. The Great Lakes that were born and changed. The rains moving. The forests that broke into green islands. The grassy plains advancing. In that mobile world, the paths of the ancestors were more open and more exposed. The land was not a real scene. It was a force that shaped the bodies. Walking erects became a response to a moving continent. The landscape itself pushed towards a new posture, and our ancestors, without knowing, began to bear their mark in blood and bones. Having hands free did not mean being safe. It meant being able to react differently. A group could collect more food. He could travel longer distances, could carry a small wounded. He could leave a place and look for another. But the open ground did not forgive distractions. The sun burned. The claws ran fast. The thirst came before the shelter. Every freedom had a concrete cost. This is why the erect path was not a clear victory. It was a difficult deal with the world, a pact that asked for courage every day. There is no precise moment when the tree ends and man begins. There are thresholds. There are habits that become inheritance. There are bodies born in a world already transformed by those who came before. Bipedism did not make them perfect beings. He made them more suitable for a variable world. Hands freed chances. The brain, over time, found new tasks. The group learned to read the landscape more carefully. And in the long distance, this attention would become culture, technique, shared memory. Everything started with a body that didn't want to stay still. One step, then another, and then again. Today we walk almost without thinking. The gesture became natural, too natural. But under every step there is a very ancient history. There is a back that has learned to hold weight. There are feet shaped by necessity. There is a continent that has changed its face several times. There is a long chain of living beings who did not know our name. Yet they were already preparing our future. Not with great speeches, not with monuments, but with the stubborn silence of adaptation. When one of them rose a little more in the morning light, the rest of the story was already on the march. In this documentary, the following works and research institutions have been used as main historical sources. Raymond Dart, Australopithecus africanus, the man-ape of South Africa. Donald Johanson and Maitland Eadie, Lucy, The Beginnings of Humankind. Meave Leakey and Alan Walker, Fossil Hominids and the Emergence of Bipedalism in East Africa. Philip V. Tobias, Olduvai Gorge, and the Human Story. Tim D. White, Asfaw Bayane, Jen Sua, Berhane Asfaw, and Jonas Bayane, Ardipithecus ramidus and the Paleobiology of Early Hominins. National Museum of Ethiopia, Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology. Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. Nature, Science. Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences.